Welcome to North Sun Tabletop Games, and today we're going to just try to do a quick sample encounter or combat test for the Shadowdark RPG. So I've got my 4 characters, so I'm going to be using the pre-gen characters. So we're going to have our fighter. And in this game, you go in continuous initiative order. So when you are playing at the beginning of the game, all the players roll their initiative, and then the turn order goes around the table. So we're gonna pretend that we have these guys seated around the table. I have a fighter, a thief, a priest, and a wizard. And we'll go ahead and roll our crawling initiative. So we're going to be using Jesper of Reem as the fighter. He gets a +1 to his Dexterity, so we'll roll his initiative check. He gets a 4, so he'll get a 5. For the thief, we are going to use Borg Barrel Bite. He's going to be our dwarf thief. Let's see what his initiative would be. An 11. The priest, we're going to use Marana Toby as the human priest. Their dex is +0, so this will be Marana Toby. 5, and followed by Gargash, the human wizard. And this will be Gargash. 8. So the highest was the thief. So I will just we'll go in turn order around the table. Let's see, where was the thief? Human priest. So the thief is first, followed by the fighter, followed by the wizard, followed by the priest. So that's the turn order around the table. I'm just using these cards stacked up as that turn order. Right, so with that being said, we'll go down to the dungeon. So the adventurers have been traveling. They found rumors of a cave that was infested with some type of creatures. They head into the dungeon, and when they're in the dungeon, they run into a pack of gnolls. 2 gnolls to be exact. So our initiative was thief, fighter, wizard, priest. All right, so our dwarf thief, we'll start there, followed by our fighter, followed by our wizard, and our priest. So they enter into the dungeon, where they run into 2 gnolls. And the gnolls are level 2. These, our heroes are all level 1. So let's take a look at the gnoll stats. Gnolls are, let's see here. Gnolls, barbaric, opportunistic hyena folk who range in large packs. So we've got 2 gnolls. We're going to have one with a spear and one with a crossbow. Or a short bow, rather, a long bow. So one with a spear, one with a long bow. The gnolls have an armor class of 12. They've got leather armor, 10 hit points, 1 attack, either their spear or the long bow. They can move near, so movement is far, near, and close. Close is right next to you. Near is about 30 feet, give or take, and far is within eyesight. And the gnolls have an ability. They're level 2. They have rage. Once per day, they're immune to morale checks. And they do an extra 1d4 damage for 3 rounds. So in this game, when the enemies are reduced to half their size, or if it's one enemy half their health, they have to make a morale check to see if they flee. But the gnolls won't have to do that unless they've already used their rage ability. All right, so we'll start with the combat encounter. So typically what happens is whenever our heroes would run into an enemy, they have to re-roll initiative. So we won't go into surprise or anything. We'll just assume they each see each other, nobody's surprised, and we'll re-roll our initiative. So the game master rolls their initiative and it adds the highest dexterity of the monsters, and then all the hero rolls, and whoever gets the highest goes from there. So in terms of the card stack, like this 4, we'll just assume myself as the GM is at the back, so I would be the 5th player. All right, so I'll go ahead and roll for the GM. He got a 15. Their dexterity gets a +1, so the heroes have to beat a 16. So I got a 16. The dwarf is going to roll his. He got a 17. The fighter will then roll theirs. 13. Priest. Oh, good rolls. 19 for the priest. 7. Okay, so going around the table, the priest is going to go first. So let me get a little index card. So you just take the highest roll. So since the priest had the highest roll, the new order is going to be the priest, followed by me as the GM, followed by dwarf, fighter, and the wizard, the same as they were before. So the priest will be able to go first. On your turn, you get 1 action. You can move up to near, so within around 30 feet, you can move. If you're 1 space out of 30 feet, you can give or take that. It's the GM's discretion. So 1 move, 1 action. Let's see what can the priest do. They have spells. So right now the priest has Cure Wounds, Holy Weapon, and Turn Undead. They also have a crossbow that can shoot at far for +0. The weapon becomes magical, so it gets +1 for 5 rounds. They could try to cast Holy Weapon, but I think for now they'll just attack with the crossbow. So let's see how close they are. So each one of these squares is 5 feet, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So not close enough, but they can move within near. So Marana will move and take a shot at the Null. All right, so we'll have Marana, the priest, try to get a little bit closer. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. She'll come over here and she'll take a shot at that Null. That Null is hiding right behind that table. So she's going to roll her d20. She needs a 12 to hit. The Null's AC is 13. 6, that's a miss. So the crossbow bolt flies past the Null's head. Then it's the Null's turn. All right, so there's 2 Nulls. The one in the back is going to take a shot at the priest. Her armor class is 13. She's got 6 hit points. And does he get any advantage to hit her? Get 1 attack, just +1. The longbow. Okay, so he just gets to add +1 to his roll. So let's see if he hits her or not. So this Null, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So he's a little bit too far away. So he's going to growl and run up here and then try to shoot her over those crates. Make sure you can see that Null over there. All right, so he's taking a shot. 4 is a miss. Arrow goes wide. And then the other Null with the spear will run up and attack her. Now, can he get 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30? Can't get close enough to everybody else. So he'll hop over this table, get next to her, and try to stab her with a spear. 13, that is exactly what he needed. And the spear does 1d6 damage. Let's see, my d6s. 1d6. Ooh, 6 damage. So she only has 6 hit points. So immediately, the cleric, the priest, gets impaled by the Null spear and crumples to the ground in a heap, unconscious. Now, since her 6 hit points have been depleted, she has to roll a d4 plus her constitution to see how many rounds before she dies. So her constitution is +1. So she'll get to add a 1 to this roll. 2. So I know that's hard to see, but in 2 rounds, Marana will be no more. That is all the enemies. So seeing this, the heroes panic. Next up is the dwarf thief. All right, I think he can't use his backstab ability. So his best bet is to just run up and try to stab. He's going to run up here and try to stab the Null that just knocked out our priestess. All right, so he gets a +3 to hit. The Nulls have 12 AC. Let's see if Boar Barrel Bite can take care of this Null. He misses. That is it for his turn. Next up in initiative order is Jesper, the human fighter. And at the start of your turn, you would count down any timers for both the heroes and the enemies. So, for example, when the priest's turn, her death timer will go from 2 to 1. You always count down the timer at first. And when you're crawling in dungeons, technically, you have to go by torchlight. So one of the adventurers in the party will be holding a torch, and that goes by in real time. So you would have 60 minutes of real time before the torch goes out, or you have to replace it. But for this combat test, we're just going to say they have a torch and keep it moving. So the fighter is going to do the same thing with his greatsword, hop over the table, attack the Null. And he's going to get in close and hopefully see if he can take this guy out. So he swings his greatsword at the Null. He gets a +5 to hit. That's 19, so he slams into the Null. It does 1d12 damage. The Null takes 11 points of damage from the greatsword. The Nulls have 10 hit points, so he lops off the head of the Null that stabbed into the priest. Last up in the initiative order is Gargesh, the human wizard. So he is going to go ahead and attempt to cast Magic Missile. So Magic Missile, advantage to cast. One creature is far, so that's within line of sight, so he can see the Null. His spell casting is +4, and he has advantage on this test. So the wizard, even though he's here, he's way at the back of the dungeon. He is going to go ahead right here and shoot his magic missiles across the room to hit that Null in the back. That's standing in the back of the room. He gets advantage, so he'll get 2d20s. Here's one, here's the other one. And it's a level 1 spell, so he needs to get an 11 or higher. He gets +4 to his spell casting, so he needs a 7 or higher. And if either one of these is 7 or higher, he will hit. Ooh, that was close. Now this is a 1, so this would have been a critical failure, which would have caused the spell to backfire or some horrible spell effect. But he got a 17 plus his 4, which is a 21, so he will hit, and he will do 1d4 damage to the Null. So he raises his hand, blast flies out, and the Null takes 2 damage. So now the Null in the back has been hit. He's still up though. He only takes 2 damage. And that ends the first round of initiative. Next up is the priest turn. So on her turn, she would put her death counter down by 1. So she has 1 round left to live. And then we would go to the dwarf. So let's see what the dwarf is going to do. His friend is hurt. So he is going to try to assist the knocked out character. And just give me 1 second because I don't recall how they get folks up. I know they can help. I think it's like a constitution roll, but let me see if I can find that. Let's see. Gameplay, crawling, combat, downtime, carousing. Combat is on 88. Let's see, is there anything on page 88? Surprise, detecting, damage, critical hit, knockout, death. It goes to 0 hit points, falls unconscious, and is dying. We did the death timer. Okay, stabilize. We can give first aid on a successful DC 15 intelligence check. The target stops dying. Okay, so he can try to stabilize her. DC 15 is tough. Intelligence check. Okay. Should we have him do it? Yeah, he can try to help her, and then the mage can try to help her after that. All right. So Borg Barrelbite, the dwarf. He should be right next to his friend that fell. So he's right next to the priest. So the dwarf, he's going to run over here and try to stabilize her. He has to make a 15 intelligence check. His intelligence modifier is +0, so he has to get a 15. 13 is not good enough. Not good enough. Right. Let's see who's next in the initiative order. It is... Oh, it's the Knolls again. All right, so the Null that's alive with his longbow, he is going to use his once per combat ability to go into a rage. So he will be immune to morale checks. And he'll get a plus 1d4 of damage. And he will go ahead and attack with his longbow. So let's see. Longbow has a range of far. So having seen the wizard in the back of the room, he's hiding over here, that shot him with the magic missile, the Noel's gonna snarl and take a shot at the wizard. So let's see, what is the wizard's armor class? The wizard has an armor class of 10. Noel is going to take a shot with his longbow. And he misses with a 4. So the party got pretty lucky there. All right. Then our fighter is going to go, Jesper, with his great sword. So we already lopped off the head of one of the Noes. And he is going to take his 30 feet of movement, parkour over the bodies. 30 is about right there. Get in the face of the other Null. And he's going to go ahead and attack that other Null. His great sword gets +5. He pulls the sword back, swings it. 18, that's definitely a hit. 1d12 of damage. The bloodied Null has 8 life left. 10 damage. He slashes through the body of the Null. The Null collapses. The heroes have won the fight, but can they save their friend? So it still stays in initiative order. The next person to activate would have been Gorgash the Wizard. He will run up next to where the priest is, and he'll try to stabilize her. He needs a 15. He gets a +3 to his intelligence check. He does not have any healing spells. 13 + 3 is 16. That is just enough to stabilize their unconscious friend. Then at this point, they'd have to decide if they want to escape the dungeon so they can rest up, get her healed, or continue onward. Now in this game, XP works by getting treasure. So the Nulls are level 2 monsters. You don't get XP for killing them, but you get XP if they have any treasure. So the book has treasure tables. And if it's a level 0 to 2 treasure, let's see, magic items, we are looking for treasure. Let's see where the treasure table is. Treasure 0 through 3, page 270. Right, so you would have a treasure table, and then we would basically roll 2d10s and see what treasure they found. So let's see what they find on the Nulls. And I'm not sure if you roll for each treasure item or if you would just roll for one. So if anybody knows for sure, you could throw something in the comments, but we'll say that the Nulls had one treasure. We'll roll and see. It was a 41. So 41 would have been a golden bowl worth 15 gold pieces. So on one of the tables in the dungeon, they find a golden bowl worth 15 gold pieces. So now we can see, is 15 gold pieces enough to get XP? Let's see. There is a chart in here that tells you the value of gold and how much gold is needed for that converts into experience. So awarding XP on page 117. Let's see. Normal is a bag of gold, gem, fine armor. Poor is a bag of silver. So they probably get 1 XP for finding that golden cup. It says per treasure find, each group should gain about 10 XP, their average party level in value. Or 20 gold pieces in value would give XP for level 0 to 3. But I think that golden cup worth 15, that's probably 1, so we would give everybody 1 XP for that. The treasure has 4 categories. It's poor, normal, fabulous, and legendary. So that was probably a normal XP. Good value, worth protecting, useful. Poor is mundane, low, ordinary, unexciting. Fabulous, incredible, prized, well guarded, or legendary, mythic, unique, quest worthy. Okay. And that will wrap up kind of like the quick combat test encounter. As you can see, the rules are really very simple. It's pretty easy to run and quick. It's also quite deadly. You can see the one hit, especially when you're at low level. Now these guys were fighting level 2 enemies, but you know, one bad die roll and your hero is knocked out. So it is kind of recommended to probably have backup heroes, or the game comes with 12 pre-gen characters that you can use in that case if you're just kind of running a session with your friends. But the monster manual in the back is really simple. All the stats for the monsters. The monster stats are really easy to consume. You just have your armor class, hit points, attack value. So the attack is how many times they can attack. For example, the siren can attack twice. So when you're going around the table in initiative order, if you have monsters, that can have multiple activations. So that'll kind of help balance out the fact that the GM just activates all his monsters at one time during the turn. So it'd be interesting to see with a more complicated fight or with more monsters how that kind of plays out. But yeah, that's it. We'll wrap that up here. Hope you guys enjoyed the little simple playthrough. Feel free to like and comment below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If there's anything I left out, please let me know. That's how I get better with trying to make these videos. So thanks for watching.